guys, music is hypnotizing, right? So my question here is, what is the hip hop or rap, if you will, industry doing to the Black community in regards to its message? So I understand it started off a certain way with a particular background as to maybe what we're going through. Mm-hmm. And I think now guys have started to figure out, well, I can talk about my experiences and make money from it, right? As a poet, if you will. So I understand that we like hip hop and rap, if you will, but what is it doing to the Black community when young individuals are taking entertainment to heart?
How I look at it on a spiritual level.
Okay.
Because I could say, oh, it's just hip hop that's doing that, but it's just music in general. I look at it as, I don't know if anybody, believes in the Bible or anything, but when Lucifer was in heaven, he was in control of the music.
Musical guy, that's right.
And when he got kicked out of heaven, he came to earth. Mm-hmm. And I believe he's still in control of the music.
So you're saying he uses music for his purpose?
Of course. A lot of times we're listening to songs and all we're thinking about is the beat. Oh, this is catchy, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we don't even know what they're talking about until we look up the lyrics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're listening to stuff that's telling us, oh, we're no good, we're this, we're that, and we're learning these songs and saying it, and we don't even know that we're putting curses on our life. We don't even realize that. Mm. It was one song I was listening to for a long time, and I was just like, man, why am I so depressed? Mm. I would listen to these songs in the morning on my way to work, and then when I get to work, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I want to kill myself, and I'm like, why do I feel like this? And then I had to say, wait a minute, I know I have to watch what I eat, mm-hmm, right? Because mm-hmm. whatever you eat is going to show.
That's right.
But I'm not paying attention to what I'm listening to.
Feed your mind. Oh, absolutely.
I'm not paying attention to that. So I had to be like, whoa, wait a minute. I can't listen to, it's a good song, but I can't listen to that.
He makes a good point. He makes a good point because if you listen to enough Tupac, man, you'll come out like a soldier.
Exactly.
You'll come out of the car angry.
Another thing I can look at is when I would go to parties, mm-hmm. right? The DJ controls the vibe, the energy. Mm. Right? If you're in there, if you're at the club and they playing love songs, of course you'll be like, man, let me get on this girl,
right.
Dance, right?
Right?
But then if they play this one song about gangs and all this other stuff, you'd be like, man, I'm ready to fight somebody. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it happens every time. I remember this one particular song. Every time they would play this song, and it was a Chief Keef song, every time they would play it, somebody got beat up. Every time. It never failed. It don't matter if I was in Oklahoma partying, if I was it don't matter where I was at. That one particular song, and I'm like, man, the devil got one up on us, man. Like, for real. Like, this is serious. And when I tell people about that, they be like, man, you tripping. You don't know what you're talking about. But I'm like, hey, man, whatever you feed your spirit, man, that's what's gonna come out.
The power of
words. Yeah, because in the beginning it was the word. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, like everything you speak, that when God spoke this world into existence, we have that same power. Mm-hmm. We have that same power. So that's how I look at music.
That's why in the morning I wake up and immediately, even right before I jump in the shower, I put it on gospel, mm-hmm. because it helps to feed my mind for the day and empower me in a spiritual way. So I'm able to go and impact somebody else in a positive way versus waking up and listening to something that's not good for my spirit.
Negative.
And negative.
Yeah, and I look at music as a word of affirmations, mm-hmm. right? When people don't realize they speak life and death over themselves, and the music,
the time,
because people be,
Manifestation is real.
Manifestation is real. So that's why I tell people, be careful what you listen to. It don't matter how good the song is. Be careful.
Just a little history, with the hip hop originated. Well, the originator would be DJ Herc, and I think in hip hop, that's what a lot of people believe. You had, the DJing, the graffiti, the rapping, and
it's like a culture.
Yeah, it was a culture, and I think you had mentioned something about politicalness, and I think originally it was more a political type of thing, especially when it turned to the hip hop scene, the Grandmaster Flash, all that good old stuff. And then they started talking about things that was happening in society. And you're absolutely right. Hip hop is very mesmerizing, especially now. And it's actually been weaponized. I feel like it has been weaponized.
Of
course.
Because especially in this day of time, with our children, with our youth, they are glamorizing these lifestyles that are not good for them. They are glamorizing drug use. They are glamorizing violence. They are glamorizing disrespect towards women, disrespect towards themselves. They are glamorizing this thing. And I feel like, do y'all recall, like, back in the day, like, especially, like, you know, like I said, I was an 80s babies. When you go to the movies, right? And you might be watching the movies, and it happened a lot of times back in the 70s and 60s when you're watching a movie, and then on the side you'll see like that Coke and that popcorn. You know, that was a psychological ploy to get you to want those things. So and that's why when they pop popcorn, you're able to smell it all over the theater, because it causes you to want these things.
Speaking of the movies, one of my uncles, he's in his 60s. He told me in the 70s when you would go to the movies, they would flash a picture on the screen and you wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah.
They had to stop doing that. But they were doing that stuff to get you, you know, and just like you said, popcorn or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So now, Nick, you are mentioning hip hop being political.
Yeah, hip hop has a power of influence. You know, and we need to use that power, once again, like I spoke of earlier, as a venue to educate, to spread word, to enlighten. You know, so it's taking other directions, like everybody. I agree with everybody as well, but it, you know, like she said, when we come back from the slavery days, that they sung slave hymns in the fields. It wasn't just singing to get through oppression. They were communicating plans with one another. So, you know, it was biblical as well as political. You know, they were able to, certain songs can politically ignite certain things, and there are forces that will go out there to stop that, to ignite those certain type of movements. So hip hop is a huge power of influence. And right now in our culture, it's our political leader, sad to say. It's the closest thing we're gonna get to our voice being heard, but we gotta use that too.
Now let me, and I love that. Thank you, Nick. Now let me ask a question. You have Christian rappers out there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now here's my question. Who's more successful in that music industry as far as, I guess, financial gain? The rapper that has the gun rhyme, or the one who's rapping about God? What is it that
negative? You can, just like you was talking about a reality TV. People love drama. People love. And I don't know why we're like that, but we love drama. We don't care about the positive stuff, man. That stuff doesn't sell. It doesn't sell.
So now Ms. Hall mentioned something earlier, and my question here is, why does the Black community glorify everything bad, rough, whether it be selling dope, whether it be smoking, drinking? I'm not saying that people don't do these things, but what I'm wondering here is, how have we taken something like that and glorified it? So you've got the videos with, I think, Megan Thee Stallion and this and that, and so we kind of know what's going on. How have we gotten to the point to where we look at that as grown people and say, yep, that's it?
I think it's the glorifying the actual drug use. It's the glorifying what's behind it, which is the money. And see, when you take a people who's never had anything in their life, you know, a little money, you know, I tell people all the time, $50,000 is nothing. It's nothing. It's gone like that. $75,000 is nothing. It's gone like that. But $75,000, $50,000 to somebody who's never had anything, that's a lot of money to them. And so how do you get that money? How do you get that money in such a short period of time? But these drill rappers, these rappers that these labels and these companies have put so much money, these indispensable rappers, because you got to remember, they're not living long.
No.
They're not living long. And you make more money from a dead rapper than you do from one that is alive.
Good point.
Yeah.
It's true.
I feel like we glorify it because it was just imposed on us by our culture. It was just something that we was just innately exposed to. You know, it's no different than glorifying sports or glorifying an actor or a musician. And it's basically, like you said, it's our highway to happiness in a sense. You know, we've never seen any other avenue in our culture to make it to that avenue of happiness. So that's the way we see it. If it's music, if it's sports, if it's drugs, if it's, that's our avenues. But we got to change those avenues for ourselves. We can't get in the lane of these avenues and then we just stay in the car and not pick people up. We have a tendency to do that. We got to create other avenues and bring other people on board to come together as a community for us to really stand out and do things. But we glorify it because, it's our own way of seeing happiness. It was imposed on us. It's our way of seeing happiness. And we just got to change things. As once again, we got to educate ourselves and use these avenues for change.
So I look at Black Wall Street, right, and many of the successful Black communities from the past. I know there's a few of them. Black Wall Street was just the first one to pop up in my head here. I think that we've come a far way down from that time. And my question here is, do you believe in group Black success as it once was, or do we have to almost rebrand ourselves? We talked about mentality in so many scenarios here. I feel as if though the mentality of the Black community, it's so warped and backwards that I don't know if there can be that same Black group, massive Black success as there once was in Black Wall Street, due to a different type of leader now, the type of people we look up to. So my question here is, do you think that there can be group Black success as it is today, as it was in the past, or does a new type of Black man and woman have to emerge, very much like yourselves?
I agree. We will have to cultivate ourselves into the people we need to be of this culture. Mm-hmm. We got to take all the puzzle pieces and re-put it back together. Sometimes life, you're going to continuously get far. You're going to get knocked down every time. It's going to teach you that just when you thought you knew everything, you don't know nothing. So we're going to have to continuously take all these pieces and just rebuild every time. Suck it up, rebuild. That's where it starts.
So are celebrities qualified to be the Black voice and leaders just because you can play basketball and you're awesome at it, or just because you're a great lyricist or a great singer? Does that now mean that you should be the leader of the Black community and the spokesman automatically just because of your success as a Black person?
No, but at the end of the day, the person that controls the image controls the people. Mm-hmm. And, of course, if that's all you see is that person on TV every day, then that's what the people go look at. That's what people go listen to.
So how have we went from a Malcolm X, a Martin Luther King, a Marcus Garvey to LeBron and Jay-Z? How have we made that switch to where I'm going to let Ms. Moore.
I feel a little different about that subject. I don't necessarily think that because you are a basketball player or a entertainer in general that you can't be a political leader. Because let's just be real. Most of our political leaders, they're not good at what they do. They're not good at what they do, and they are quote unquote political leaders. These are people who have gone to school for this, but
I think they have different agendas.
We
don't pay attention to their agenda.
A lot of them don't talk about ownership. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, but that's where it all starts.
So what are our leaders talking about? What's the message that you're hearing from most of them?
So I feel like we're just worried about the surface. We're not digging deep. You know what I'm saying? Because while we're I hate to say this, but this is how I look at it.
We have to be honest.
I feel like we're like, I feel like everybody should be able to kneel. I feel like we should be able to do this in sports. I want to be able to wear this shirt that says Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the third. And while we're doing that, the whites and all the Asians and all those other people are buying land and owning everything, and we don't own nothing.
So we eat low-hanging fruit. We're easily distracted.
We're worried about the crumbs. Mm-hmm. We're worried about the crumbs, and while they're getting, they're getting all the money. You know what I'm saying? They're owning everything. They're owning all these businesses and all this other stuff, while we're just and I know I'm kind of changing the subject, but this makes me think about segregation and all that other stuff. Like, in my opinion, I feel like that was the worst thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that.
Because before before we started integrating with them and stuff, we owned our own. We had our own black communities. We owned our own stuff, but we were like, oh no, I want what the white man has. I don't want to ride the black bus. I want to ride the white one.
And I think Dr. Umar Johnson, if you ever heard of him, he talks a lot about how it's really important that you have whatever you own, whether it's good or bad, you'll develop it because it's.
You think the Mexicans care about what the white person doing? They don't care.
Right.
They work when you go to a part of town where there's nothing but Mexicans. They have their own stuff, whether it looks good or not. You know, they love it. It's theirs. But why us black people? We gotta be like, no, I don't. I think the white man's water is wetter.
It's
you know
better,
what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand.